Okay, to wrap up our training video for the Organization Builder, I'm going to take us through the foundation score process that we have built into the system. I'm going to start, I think I showed you this in the settings section as well, but if I go into settings, there's a foundation score settings selection. And this is the area that allows us to set goals, but just on an overall basis, what the foundation score is, if all of this information with all our employees, our organization charts, our forms, once you have those all in a database, there's a lot of information that can be gathered about the organization. And what we did is we just kind of dreamed about that a little bit and came up with 20 items that are measurables in the system. And it's not like we're not saying this is a perfect measure of employee health or anything, but I think it creates a good kind of directional number where we can see if we're getting better in this area or going backwards. And what it measures in general is how engaged are we with our employees. And I think from a strategy standpoint, there probably is nothing more important than that. So we thought this was a good way to kind of put a balanced scorecard together related to our people and how we're engaging them as managers. So I'm going to run through quickly just what the 20 items are here, and then I'll show you how this works. And again, some of these are more dire than others, but adding it all together, what we do is we assign to each of these 20 a 10 point, from 0 to 10 points. So depending on how well we're stacking up to the goals that we set here in the settings area, points are assigned. So for example, employee file completeness. This just gets into simply when we create an employee file for an employee, how much information do we have? Do we know their key dates? Do we have comments in there regarding their personal lives and professional lives and stuff like that? Because it's possible to add an employee to the system and not have any of that information. We believe, and this is kind of the concept of the foundation score, we believe the more information you have in the system about the employee, the more you're going to know and the better boss you're going to be. That's the concept. So what this does is it just measures the percent of available fields completed in the employee file. So very simple. And here we set a goal. These are just the initial goals. You can change these, but the goal is 85%. We'd like to see 85% of the fields in the employee record be filled out. Next one is job descriptions written. And we believe every job description on the org chart should have every position on the org chart should have a job description written for it. So the goal is 100%. Job description completeness. That just gets into, again, how complete are these things? How full are these job descriptions? How much time have we spent thinking about this? And we put 60% goal there. Team performance score. What this does is it just takes the scorecards and the performance reviews and kind of adds them all together and averages them out. And the idea is if we have a very strong team, we're probably going to have a good score. If we have a weak team, then we're going to give out more 1s and 2s on the 1 to 5 scoring. So I've set a goal here to start the system at 3.5, and you can do whatever you want there. The offset to that one, performance scoring range, and maybe you've seen this. I've definitely dealt with performance reviews in the past from managers, people that have worked for me, whatever, and they give employees all 5s, and you see that a lot of 5s, a lot of 4s, just not a lot of thought put into it a lot of times. So this actually offsets the team scoring, and you can see down here we kind of set up a targeted distribution of scoring. And what this kind of means is, we expect 5% of the scores out there to be 1s, 15% to be 2s, 45% to be 3s, 20%, and 15%, for example. And what this score measures is any overweighting that's going on in the 4s and 5s. Now, you will have employees that deserve all 5s, I'm not saying that, but 50% of the employees probably don't deserve all 5s. So what we're trying to measure there is, are we scoring fairly? So that's what that performance scoring range metric is about. Performance forms per person per year. this just gets into how many performance reviews and scorecards have we written per person per year, and it just annualizes this. It's just a measure of quantity in the system, very simply. So kind of, again, directionally tells you if we're not writing any of these things, we're probably not giving our employees enough feedback, etc. So here the goal in the system to start out is set at 4 per person per year. And that could be, 3 quarterly scorecards and a performance review. If you want to do less than that, or if you do less than that, maybe it's 2, and you can change this goal to be measured against. Performance forms comments lengths. What that does is it measures how many comments are we, or how big a comments are we making on these forms. Because again, in my career I've seen too many performance reviews with no comments, and I think to have a valuable discussion with an employee, we need to have some meat in the review. So that just measures comment length. And a goal set there is 150 per comment section. Again, you can adjust that. Training goals per person per year. How many development goals do we have in the system? How many of those are being closed on time? And how many at this point in time are complete? And we put down 80% here, that at any given snapshot in time, 80% should be complete, 20% should be open. Again, you can adjust that. Feedback notes per person per year, same thing, just a volume measure. Max span of control. This one talks about, looks at the org chart and just says, what's the manager with the widest span of control, or who has the most people meeting or working for him. And what we said here in the goal, when we put a goal of 8, that just says is as long as we're at 8 or below, we're good. So if we have somebody that has 12 direct reports, for example, then if our goal is set at 8, that will count points against us for the foundation score. Annualized turnover rate, how many people have we lost in a given year? And the way the system measures this, these would be people in the employee file that are no longer on the organization chart. So it's important to keep the organization chart current. That's kind of the current employee list, if you will. Hired this year and lost this year. How many employees did we hire in the current year, and how many of those are no longer with us? It's just kind of a measure of hiring success. Average employee tenure. How long have people been with us? Employees with tenure over 3 years. Managers with tenure over 3 years. Just kind of gets in again to evaluating the experience of our staff, and once again, to measure that, obviously the employee file has to be complete, or we have to have those dates loaded in there. How many discipline forms per person per year are we targeting? And this one's an interesting one, I think. Obviously we don't want a lot of discipline forms, but on the other hand, if we're not writing any, we're not addressing performance concerns. So that's why all these measures were put in here, and you can set the goal where you want it. The way this is set up, it says we should at least get 1 per person per year. Not that everybody's going to get 1, but you're going to have people that get 2. And remember, the discipline forms are not all severe issues. You have action plans in there as well, which are really not discipline forms at all. They're just trying to assist somebody with their performance. Discipline forms open now. This is how many are currently open. And if you take the Jack Welch approach, 10% of our people are usually, there's something to be addressed. So that's why this goal is set at 10%. It's like if we don't have any open at this current time, same concept, we're probably not dealing with every performance issue that we should be. And then days to resolve discipline. How long are these discipline forms open between the discussion date and the close date? Just that measures, are we staying on top of these things and working through them. So that is the complicated scoring methodology, which you really don't need to think about too much, but I wanted to go over it just so you understand kind of the strategy behind it. And the way this works out in the system, I'm going to go back to the home page here. There's a couple of ways you're going to see this throughout the system. This F-score button, if I go there, and you have to be logged in, somehow I logged myself out. If I go to the F-score button, this is the dashboard to letting you know how well I'm doing on the foundation score at any given time. So you can see you've got kind of a speedometer here max score would be 10, minimum score would be 0. And just with the test data I put in so far, I'm at a 4.5. And then this chart here will give you a trend by month. And then it lists the 20 items we just went through kind of in descending order, you know, how many points. Now it was easy for me. I added one form of each type, and because I just initialized this system today, you know, that's a pretty good pace over the course of a year, because you're probably not going to do that. You're not going to add 8 forms a day, you know. But I got 10 points on those because of that. You can see there's a bunch of them I have 0 points on as well. And I'll go into, for example, performance form comment length. When I added that performance review, I didn't put any comments in hardly, and I'll show you how you can check that at the time as well. But I got 0 points on that. And the other thing this report does is it shows you things to work on. You know, these are going to be lists of people in these categories that I can work on to improve my foundation score. So who is missing employee file information? Who is missing training plans? Who is overdue in their training plans, etc. So that, if I want to know how can I improve my foundation score today, that's how I would do that. And the last thing I want to show you, when you're in a particular form, and let's go back to our Bob Smith file here. I'll go into his performance review that we had put in. Actually, let me pull up employee form here. Okay, I'm going to try that again. Open Bob Smith. Okay. What you're going to see when you pull this form up is, and again, if you recall what I entered in here, not too much. This red check mark, when you click that, it's going to give you a quick summary of how this particular form stacks up for the foundation score. So if I click on this, it's going to tell me actual percent of fields complete is 71% versus target of 85%. So this is my employee file, not my performance review. So I put quite a bit in, you know, I entered some data in here, so my percent complete isn't too bad. That's really the only thing we measure on this employee file. If I pull up, like I had done, maybe, I think we did a scorecard for Bob as well. If I bring that up, and you can see I hardly entered anything here. So if I click on the red check, it's going to tell me my average comment length is 0, because I didn't put any comments in over here, versus a goal of 150 characters. My score is 4, based on an average score of 3.5. My percent of 4s and 5s is 75%, versus an average target of 35%. Not sure how it's getting 75%. But anyway, you get the gist. This will tell you how good this form is. So if you want to really use the foundation score and really tie into this strategy, if you train your folks to kind of check their forms, it'll remind them, hey, you probably should put some more comments here, or hey, is this person really involved, you know, really deserve all 5s? It's just a way to double check exactly what we're doing. So that's the foundation score overview. I hope that made sense, and I appreciate your time, and thanks for listening. Talk to you soon.